met a young lady and her daughter, and as I talked with her, she asked me to come into her house. When I went into her house, I remember there was a little girl sitting on the floor, and she was sitting around. Everything that she slept in was around her. And then I noticed things on the walls, and I noticed holes in the floor, and I remember thinking to myself, my first thought was, oh my God, I cannot believe this child is living in a situation like this.
Well, it used to be a pretty rough neighborhood.
We first lived here a couple years ago on the front side, and this neighborhood was really bad. I didn't want my kids back here playing.
It was just unbelievable that people would have to live that way.
Knowing that there's much to do here, and that there's a real true cycle of poverty and things that go on, that I'd like to see that broken.
To some degree, it's trying to break that cycle of dependence, that cycle of hopelessness that we saw down here.
When you see other people who have to live in much different type circumstances.
And I've done some really awful, bad things, and like you said, I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't even want to talk to God, because why would He talk to me?
There are difficult things in this world that we don't understand. There are people who are in situations that I really can't understand how they got there, and I don't understand how to get them out of that.
I always thought, why don't these kids do their homework? What's the problem? Until I went to visit a family after school one day to bring something to them. And I realized they had one chair in their apartment, a lamp with a light bulb, no shade, and I asked the mom if she had a pencil so I could write down a list of things to bring back to her, and they had no pencil. And I thought, no wonder the kids don't do their homework. They don't have the necessary supplies.
If God hadn't sent the support of Lincoln Village Ministries, then I really don't think I could have probably lasted past one school year.
They've never had room mothers. You know, room mothers would be great.
Having a room mother has made it much easier when it comes to doing everything.
And, you know, you got a whole class of kids that are like my grandkids. You know, I've only got 3 grandkids, but I got a whole class in Miss Henry's class.
So I've known D'Angelo now going on 4 years, and I've been tutoring him alone 2 years.
Since Southwood and the other churches have come on board, just the presence of the mentors and the volunteers and having the kids match with those mentors and volunteers have brought lots of love into the building, lots of excitement into the building.
My wife and I only have one child, a daughter, adopted. Now I have a son, if you will. And so I enjoy just spending time with him, you know, coming in every week. I look forward to coming in.
Us being inside of a school, sometimes people think that it's just a Band-Aid clinic, but when they actually come in and see the equipment that's been donated and the things that make the clinic more of an atmosphere of like an office.
Southwood, in particular, coming on board has made a tremendous difference in providing services that we at Heels could not provide for the families that we serve.
Some of the things that we see a lot as far as illnesses are like asthma, and that is directly related to what's going on in the home.
They were going to living conditions that just were not conducive to ever having any kind of vision of success.
We wanted a safe place for people who are in need to raise their children.
Lincoln Village Preservation Corporation was established about 3 years ago with the intent of trying to purchase, refurbish, rent, and ultimately return ownership to low-to moderate income residents in this area.
We just started in this unit here that's behind us.
I told the guys, I said, I don't know what the commitment's going to be, but we'll just work till they run us off or we just wear out.
So we all jumped on board and thought this would be an awesome idea to help someone out that really needed it.
The biggest challenges are the condition of these houses. We'd much rather build a new house than to refurbish this house. But
I'm really excited about moving over here better. That house is really old. Certain things you can tell. The heating's old.
Well, I've seen a lot of changes. The houses are looking better. The yards are.
I live in a place where I'm never around people that are materially poor. And so the Lord said, you know, to feed the hungry. Said, if you feed the hungry, you feed me.
And I asked him if he had a coat, and he said no. And I said, you don't have one in Miss Lee's room? And he said, no. I said, do you have one at home? And he said, no. I said, well, you know what? You'll have a coat before the day's over.
The teachers and volunteers or whomever can walk over and get the clothes that we needed.
So one problem usually leads to many other problems.
What they think is a huge problem is really a very small problem that can be taken care of very quickly and with little expense.
We're the eyes of the needs of what's taking place, and we're not there to cause any trouble but to only help. And so that's what we've been able to do. Along with that, we're able to provide legal assistance.
They might get a ticket, and then they get a failure to appear, and then that just keeps growing and growing, and then they run from the law. And what I can do is bring them in, and we can take care of everything all at once.
So here, not only do I have an opportunity, but people in our church and people across this community have an opportunity to see what Christ can do when people come together.
It's never if, it's in right now, where is God calling us to reach out and engage our city, our world.
You would not find no crosses, no nothing, no Bible stuff. I ripped up the Bibles, I ripped up stuff. I hated God. You know, anything that bad happened was because of God, and anything good that happened, it was because I made it happen.
One of the great things about our involvement is that we can see transformation visibly taking place.
Every time I was strayed, Miss Sherry would be like, come on, Trish. You know, it was in Bible studies that I think that really kept me into it.
Is there a community anywhere that more desperately needs God's transforming power than Lincoln Village?
God does love me. I ain't that bad of a person when I left. I am pretty cool.
I used to be a very judgmental person for the poor.
Not only am I judgmental, but I'm quick to judge and quick to get angry. And really seeing some of the things you see, at first you just get so angry.
Jesus talks in Matthew 25 that he's going to divide the world into two camps. And there's either going to be one camp that took care of poor people, or there's going to be a camp that didn't take care of poor people. And I want to be in the camp that take care of poor people.
I think I can pretty much approach anyone, and I know that is God releasing me of that fear.
Just watch away the prejudices when you recognize that we are all made in the image of God and all have so much to offer.
Seeing how God has been able to work with different people, different churches, and we've all come together with one purpose.
It's changing our family's life because we're trying to be involved with this family and see what difference that we can make.
But your heart's big enough to hold a whole bunch of kids.
I think God has a plan overall that He'll take our pitiful little things that we do and He'll use them to build His kingdom.
Without Him, I couldn't do this by myself.
We're getting paid other ways, you know. It's just a blessing to us to be here.
I've been blessed, you know, incredibly.
It's made me realize how fortunate and lucky and blessed that we are, and we've got to give something back.
Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen, to loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke?
Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter, when you see the naked to clothe him, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood?
Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear.
Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard.
Then you will call, and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help, and He will say, Here am I.
If you do away with the yoke of oppression, with the pointing finger and malicious talk,
and if you spend yourselves on behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and your night will become like the noonday.
The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame.
You will be like a well
like a spring whose waters never fail.
Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings.